Shwmae pawb, hello everybody. Croeso, welcome to my wild Welsh garden. And croeso cynnes iawn, a particular warm welcome to all my new subscribers. My name's Isabel and I live at the top of the Swansea Valley. And this channel is all about my journey wilding my garden. Because those people who think that to have a wild garden, a garden for wildlife, means that you just leave it and let nature do its own thing and you don't have to do any gardening. I'm afraid that is a misconception, because I think I do as much gardening now as I ever did as a conventional gardener. I just do it differently. I just garden in a different way. I do different things, maybe at different times of the year, and in a different way. So it's about learning new processes, really. And what I'm trying to do is to garden in a way that's more in tune with what happens in the natural environment, so in a wild ecosystem. That's the plan anyway. And yes, and the plan is that I create a lovely, beautiful garden that I want to spend time in and other people want to spend time in, which is also full of wildlife. And I do have to say that so far the feedback is that it's kind of going okay. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, the promised rain has arrived. If you watched my last video, you'll know that we've been having this crazy dry year so far, which is completely the opposite to last year, which was a crazy wet year. But the promised rain has arrived, and yeah, the thing is, I do try and post a video every week, and today's Tuesday, so it's the Tuesday before Easter, and my daughter is coming tomorrow to stay till Easter with her two young children. One's 4 and one's 11 months. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to have much time to make a video between now and my normal posting day, which is a Monday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick scutch around the garden in the rain. So yeah, a garden tour with a difference, and then I'll have a video to show you next Monday. So yeah, welcome to my wild, wet Welsh garden. So I'm standing in the door of my cottage, just keeping out of the rain. Everywhere is very wet, but it's full of life and hope for the year ahead. And it's full of colour from the flowers and all the different colours of green shoots and new leaves. So now I'm taking refuge in the greenhouse, looking at the pond filling up with water. So I'm very pleased about that, because it was getting very low. But what I've been doing is collecting water off the woodshed roof and bringing it up here in watering cans and just pouring it gently into the pond. And yeah, it's looking really quite good at the moment. And again, lovely colour around, you know, the primroses and the little succulent thing whose name escapes me. And up at the top there is the hibernaculum, which again is looking great because it's been colonised by these native plants. There's lots of foxgloves there, and evening primrose, bugle, ragwort. Yeah, that's all I can see from here at the mo. Do you know, it really does my heart good to see just nature taking over, because I haven't planted any of those. And I did wonder at one point whether anything would grow there, because the sparrows were using it as a dust bath. I thought they were just going to demolish it. And then looking down this way, you know, even the perennial kale has a lovely sort of pink tinge to some of the leaves, pink and purple tinge. Yes, it actually goes very well with the ornamental cherry that's behind. And yeah, so we're looking down at the tiny forest here. You can't actually see the trees, really. Just the forget-me-nots, but I can't remember how many trees there were there. About 30, I think. 30 little trees. And they've all come into leaf. There was one I was a bit worried about, but then I discovered it was the older buckthorn, which actually is very slow to come into leaf in the spring. So, yeah, so I'm happy about that. That looks just the way I wanted it to look. It's funny, isn't it? You have these views in your mind's eye, and 99% of the time it doesn't turn out like that at all. But this time it did, so yeah, I'm happy. And there's blossom on the pear tree, and there's 2 apple trees, and they're going to come into blossom soon. And then in the middle there's this strange structure, which is my standing deadwood structure that I just made from branches and trunks that I hauled back from the woods. And one of them was covered in moss. It was lovely and green in the winter. But yes, it's sadly depleted now because the sparrows have been collecting the moss for their nests. Okay, so now I'm sheltering in the shed, and that shows the tiny forest from the other side and the secret garden behind, which I'm not going to go and film because I would get wet. So it's really raining quite hard now, so I'm going to make a dash for the summer house. Yes, it's certainly raining now. In Welsh, mae hi'n bwrw glaw. It is raining. It actually means it's hitting rain. Bwrw is hit to hit. So yes, in Wales it doesn't just rain, it hits rain. Mae hi'n bwrw glaw. But you know, it just feels right somehow, this sort of weather. I mean, I love sunshine, don't get me wrong. I love warm, sunny afternoons. But day after day after day of, you know, unseasonably warm, dry weather, it's just not right. You know, we're in a temperate rainforest area here. It's supposed to be wet. And there's the trug filling up with water from the woodshed roof. That's the water I've been taking up to the old pond. And here's the new pond, which is filling up with water because it has a little sort of drainage system from the summer house roof that goes into this pond. So that fills itself up really. It's a lovely marsh marigold flowering there. And around the new pond, this time last year I sowed with meadow grass. Well, it was a bit earlier in the year because I think this time last year it had just started to germinate. But it grew and I haven't cut it and it's looking just as I wanted it. Because long grass it's so good for all sorts of reasons. It's a good habitat for little creatures, for insects and other invertebrates, but also reptiles, amphibians, voles, mice, that kind of thing. And grass is also the larval food plant of quite a number of our native butterflies. And the butterfly conservation people have shown that those gardens that have areas of long grass have significantly more butterflies in them than the gardens without. This is the view from the polytunnel. A minute ago, you wouldn't have been able to hear me speaking. It was so noisy in here with the rain. But just outside the polytunnel is this old woodshed, and this is over 100 years old. And you can see by the way that the wall has sort of buckled that it's seen better days. But I did have somebody to come and look at it, and it would cost thousands to rebuild it. And he said it would probably stay like that for another 100 years. And then all round the polytunnel, there used to be just an access path. But I took it up last year and sowed it with meadow grass, and the same as I did round the new pond, and it's all grown up. And again, it's looking just as I want it to look. This is going to be just a wild area with long grass and whatever weeds want to come, really. And then around the garden there are a number of these sort of containers with water in, going slowly stagnant. And these are for the hoverflies, because a few species of hoverflies like to lay their eggs in stagnant water. So that's what I'm providing for them. And that's the view down to the cottage. And yeah, it's still raining and I'm getting a little bit wet and soggy, so I think I'm going to go in now. I've not been able to show you much wildlife today because, well, yes, everything's hiding away, trying to stay dry. But I'm sure it will all come out as soon as the rain stops. And hopefully this rain will, be good for everything, good for the plants and therefore good for the insects that feed on them and good for the animals and other insects that feed on those. So I'm really hoping that this year is going to be a better year for nature and we'll begin to start seeing nature recover. So here I am back in the door of my cottage. So it just remains for me to thank you for visiting my Wild Welsh garden again. Thanks for coming on the tour with a difference, the wet and soggy garden tour. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye! Hwyl fawr!